You ever just sitting there watching a show or movie or something that you enjoy, whether it's week to week or you're binge watching it throughout one entire night, and then it just all comes to an end, and you're just sitting there, bored, nothing to do. You're just like, well, what am I supposed to do now? Well, that's pretty much how I feel with Daredevil Born Again.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Well, Daredevil Born Again has finally came to an end, and what a freaking show it was. Now, obviously, it's not, I don't think, the best show that Marvel has made, because, obviously, because of all the rewrites and reshoots that they've had to make, it does definitely kind of feel a bit strange in some places, but overall, I think this was still a pretty solid show, to say the least. I don't think it's up there with, like, Loki, or it is probably better than WandaVision, I'm not gonna lie. It might be like the second best Disney Plus show. I still think Loki is probably up there because that was just a really smooth show from start to finish. In season 1 and season 2, they didn't have to redo or reshoot anything, so it felt a lot more smoother. That is probably why it still remains the best show. But Daredevil Born Again, it is up there in terms of some of the best shows that Marvel has made, especially because of the rating. Now, we were all super concerned about how Disney would go about doing Daredevil, Kingpin, Punisher, all that jazz. But I can say that they arguably cooked harder than Netflix when it came to the whole violence of, the Daredevil and Punisher and Kingpin and all that, because they were doing some things in this show that never once happened in the Netflix show. Now, leading up to Daredevil Born Again, I started to watch all 3 seasons of Daredevil in the Netflix show and the Defenders show, because that show was important for Daredevil season 3, because if you went from Daredevil season 2 to Daredevil season 3, it would just be super confusing. So, you had to watch the Defenders in order to understand what happened in Daredevil season 3. So that's what I did. I watched Daredevil season 1, then Daredevil season 2, and then the Defenders, and then Daredevil season 3. So it took me around like a month and a half, because I think I started it like a week or so before Daredevil Born Again started, which was probably a bad idea. I probably should have started it around like middle of February or beginning of February, somewhere around there, but I just didn't have that mindset until like the end of February, where I was like, oh, I should probably watch the Netflix show before Born Again comes out. So I was kind of watching the Netflix show and Born Again kind of simultaneously, because I hadn't finished the Netflix show yet. But yeah, the Netflix show was pretty dang solid. I did enjoy it, but some of the stuff Disney was doing was kind of crazy. Like, especially in the finale, they have Kingpin kill like one of his secretaries, I think, is what he is. I don't really know what he was doing in the show, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he was one of his like secretaries or something. I'm not really too sure, but he kills the guy in like the most freaking brutal way imaginable. Something that Netflix like would never even like show or anything like that. Like they would imply it's kind of something like that, but they would never really show anything like that. But Disney, on the other hand, they did not hold back, especially during the whole Daredevil and Punisher team up that happened towards the end of the season and the finale. I did enjoy that. Obviously, Punisher was going crazy with his weapons and all that. And then there is the post-credit scene in the final episode, which does set up the Punisher special presentation, I'm pretty sure, because Punisher is going to be getting a special presentation, I would assume sometime next year before Born Again Season 2 comes out, because they are filming that right now. So I'm not sure when the special presentation for Punisher starts filming, but I would assume it comes out sometime next year. But yeah, the post-credit scene is him breaking out of the cage that he's in by the end of the episode, and who knows what's going to be happening in the Punisher presentation, but I'm sure it's going to be great, because he was going ham on those guards in the finale for Born Again, so who knows what they're going to do for him, but sure it's going to be great. And also, Kevin motherfucking Fagoli, why did you have to kill off Foggy Nelson in the first 5 minutes? Like, literally, bro didn't even last 10 minutes before Bullseye assassinated his ass. He went to a bar with Matt and Karen, and then immediately afterwards just gets shot and dies. And that's it. He's GG's. And it's like, wow, okay, we're doing this already. But yeah, obviously, if you guys don't know, the show had to get reworked from basically scratch. I mean, they kept episodes 2 and 3, and I think episode 5, because that episode felt super out of place because you had the Muse storyline introduced at the end of episode 4 where he kidnaps that one dude and then takes him to his lair and then starts torturing him and all that. And then episode 5 is the bank vault robbery for the entire episode. Has no connection to Muse, Kingpin, none of that. It is just simply Matt going to a bank, and then that bank gets robbed, and then that is the whole episode. So, yeah, it wasn't necessarily bad, it just felt so out of place, if you know what I'm talking about. Like, if they would have had it as, like, maybe episode 2 or 3, then maybe it wouldn't have felt as out of place. But it just felt super strange to have it in there because you had the Muse storyline in episode 4, then you had the bank vault robbery in episode 5, and then you went back to the Muse storyline in episode 6. But they actually had to reshoot the Muse part in episode 6 because in the trailers when Matt is fighting Muse, you can see that there is a different person on the table than in the actual show, because in the trailer it is the dude from episode 4 that is on the table when Matt's fighting Muse, but in the show it is the White Tiger's daughter who was on the table because she goes to investigate Muse and then gets kidnapped by him. So it's like, what happened to the dude that, got kidnapped at the end of episode 4? Like, what happened to him? I guess he's just dead now. So, GG's for him, I guess. But, yeah, some of the episodes, they were kind of like the bank vault robbery, and I guess episode 2 and 3 were kind of But everything after that, like episode 6, 7, 8, and 9, I thought were pretty dang solid because, obviously with the questionable Muse stuff in episode 6, I still thought it was a pretty solid episode. And then episode 7, they just straight up kill Muse. Muse is done. Muse went from episode 4 to episode 6 to dying in episode 7. So yeah, they definitely could have done a bit more with Muse in my opinion, but overall he was still a pretty good villain. And yeah, he just gets shot and is dead by episode 7. So also in episode 7, when Matt was fighting Muse in a Heather's, therapy thingy, it was super weird because it would cut like every 2 seconds when they were fighting each other. I don't know why. I was sitting there watching it, I was like, there are so many cuts during this fight scene. Like, just felt super weird. But yeah, overall the episode's still pretty enjoyable. And the last 2 episodes, my god, those are the ones that are directed by the people who directed Loki and I think an episode of Moon Knight. So yeah, and I think they also directed episode 1 of the show too, which, funny enough, episode 1, episode 8, and episode 9 are like some of the best shows, or best episodes in the show. So that should be saying something, because if you told me that the directors of those episodes of Daredevil Born Again were directing an Avengers movie, I'd be 100% down with that because, like I said, they directed some of the best episodes of Daredevil Born Again, and I think they directed the entirety of Loki Season 2, I'm pretty sure, which is, like I said, one of the best shows that Disney has made. And Episode 4 of Moon Knight, I'm pretty sure, is one they directed, which was also a pretty dang solid episode, so they are pretty talented directors, so if they directed an Avengers movie, I wouldn't be complaining. So yeah, that is basically going to wrap it up for my thoughts on this show. I'm glad Disney did not hold back on these characters because, like I mentioned, we all thought they would because it's Disney and they don't really like to do that stuff, but they managed to do it with Deadpool and Wolverine. So the fact that they're keeping that, gritty vibe with Daredevil, I appreciate that. And hopefully they can continue it with The Punisher and Daredevil Born Again Season 2. And hopefully, maybe, Foggy Nelson did not really get assassinated 5 minutes into the first episode, because that would kind of suck, I'm not gonna lie. So, yeah, because Karen Page comes back at the end of Season 1 of Born Again, and we know she's going to be in Season 2 because of the set photos that we've seen of her, but we haven't seen Foggy in Season 2 of Born Again yet, but we have confirmation that he will be in Season 2 of Born Again, so we don't know if it's going to be flashbacks, or if he's going to be revealed to not be dead. Who knows what's going to happen, because Matt and Karen go into hiding, so maybe they'll meet up with Foggy, who's in hiding, or something like that. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. You guys can let me know what you thought of Daredevil Born Again. I would probably rate it a 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was pretty dang solid, especially episodes 1, 8, and 9. Those are like some of the best episodes that are a part of that show, and they were pretty dang solid, especially when they did like that color change whenever like Bullseye would appear on the screen or Daredevil would appear on the screen. They would do these things where like when Bullseye would appear, the lighting would change to blue, and then when Daredevil would appear, the lighting would change to red. It was pretty dang solid. I did like that, and they even did it towards the finale as well. When Bullseye was on the screen, they would fade it to blue. I did enjoy that. But that is going to wrap it up for this video. We are only 14 subscribers away from 600. We're only at 586. I don't know what really keeps happening because, I keep going from 586 down to 585, then up to 586, then back down to 585, then back up to 586. I don't know, it keeps going back and forth. So if we can continue to go up instead of up and down, that would be pretty appreciated. But that is going to wrap it up for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.